Welcome to Bariatric Business Accelerator, the podcast created for busy weight loss practitioners and their teams who want to systematize, simplify, and accelerate the growth of their new or existing weight loss practice. I'm your host, Karol Clark, and today we're covering a very simple, I know, but powerful marketing concept that can transform how predictable and profitable your patient pipeline becomes. Let's talk a little bit about warm leads versus cold leads and why your practice truly needs both of them in order to grow. I work on this so many times with different practices. It's an exciting process, and it matters because there's a common misconception that I see inside some practices. And that's the idea that posting content frequently or having a large audience will automatically generate new consults and paying patients. But that's really rarely the case, in fact. Instead, your success is directly tied to the quality and the consistency of leads entering your pipeline, as well as what you do with those leads, how you nurture them over time, and how you convert them into paying patients. And that brings us to two categories of where your prospective patients are coming from, and that's cold leads and warm leads. They both matter, but they both matter for two very different reasons. So, cold leads, first of all, what are they? They're people who, as you know, have shown interest in weight loss, but they're still kind of getting to know you and your team. Maybe they clicked on a Facebook ad, maybe they Googled weight loss programs in your city and you came up, yay, in the automated search, or they landed on your site for the very first time for some reason. At that stage, there's really very little trust, there's minimal connection, and there's almost zero understanding of your approach, your pricing, or your expertise, other than what they end up finding once they see you online. Cold leads usually take longer to convert, and we know this particularly with weight loss, where there's so many options out there, and people, particularly with weight loss surgery, take a bit longer to convert. They often need more education, repetition, and reassurance before they're going to actually schedule. We want to take any barriers to them scheduling or doing that with you away, but that's the fact. And here's the exciting part. Cold leads actually represent growth beyond your existing circle of people that know you. They expand your audience, they increase your reach, and they build long-term demand. So they may not be converting today, but they could be converting down the road. We see this all the time in our conversion statistics. And when nurtured correctly, they actually can become your most valuable future warm leads and ultimately paying patients in your practice. So warm leads, on the other hand, they tend to convert faster. They already are very familiar with you. They've seen testimonials from your patients. They've attended an event perhaps, or they've seen your webinar. They've watched your videos. They've interacted with your content online, or they know someone who's already worked with you and they've heard great things about you and your practice. So what happens with them? Of course, they move faster. They require fewer touch points in order to get them to that point of conversion, and their decision making happens with much more confidence. So that's really great. That's why most of us really love warm leads, but the cold leads can actually be very helpful too, as I mentioned. So these warm leads usually convert at a higher rate and at a lower cost per conversion. So why do you need both? I know you know this intellectually already, but think of the cold leads as like you're planting seeds, and warm leads are where you're actually doing the harvesting. So they're already planted and they've had some growth, and they're ready to harvest. So we want to make sure that in your practice, if you do only rely on those warm leads, growth eventually will stall because you run out of what to harvest. That warm audience may consist of former or current patients, like I mentioned, referral sources, past webinar attendees, existing followers, and eventually that pool becomes kind of saturated and we can only get but so much out of it. Oftentimes we also consider that sort of our gold that we can mine, but that's also where those cold leads come in. So these warm leads have already purchased or they're not yet ready again. On the other hand, focusing exclusively on cold leads increases your cost per lead, cost per conversion, and it demands a lot of stronger follow-up. Cold leads aren't nurtured that aren't nurtured tend to forget about you, they lose interest, or they just find another option very quickly. The real opportunity is bridging the two of these different options. So taking your cold leads and turning them into warm leads, and taking your warm leads and converting them into paying patients. So once someone expresses an interest, your job is to warm them up consistently. That happens through lots of things. We do helpful emails and education. We provide them with clear next steps and calls to action. We showcase transformations so that you're always in front of them and they can see the fact that you are having transformations on a regular basis. You repeat messaging to them. We can't just do one email a month. That's not going to do anything. You've got to have repetition messaging more frequently than that. You've got to have social visibility. And when you do all these things well, something important happens. You build this automation so that people are constantly finding you, warming up to you, learning more about you, and then making that conversion. Prospective patients will feel like they already know you before they ever walk through your doors. And people who do this really well, I know in our practice, they'd say, Dr. Clark, I feel like I already know you. I've seen so many of your videos. We have like hundreds out there on YouTube and all that. But that's where the conversion truly accelerates. And what a lead warming system looks like. So let's say you have somebody who's a cold lead and you're warming them. Your highest return on your investment activity isn't simply generating leads, it's really nurturing them and taking those leads and doing something with them. A strong system for this nurturing might include a welcome email sequence. It's never been easier than it is before than what it is right now with automated text messaging and emails, providing them with webinars or discovery sessions, follow-up reminders, SMS nudges, success story spotlights, highlighting what's going on in your office and why it's so exciting to come to your practice. FAQs is so important right now, particularly with the way the search is generated now. What the expectations are, personalized invitations to schedule. This reduces your cost per consult. It actually improves your conversion rate when you're doing a lot of this, and it can be automated, but it also needs to have that human touch. It creates a predictable monthly patient flow, and it's really important. So let's talk a little bit about some common mistakes that I see, because we all make mistakes as we're learning. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. But many practices treat cold leads as they're just not ready, and they move them into the separate bucket and they don't really touch them, and then they move on to somebody else. When in reality, they're just not ready right now. So weight loss decisions, as you know, can take weeks, they can take months, they can take even years, particularly with a procedural result. So it's really important. And I recently heard a story about a patient who followed educational emails, and this happens in our practice too, and social posts for almost 2 years before scheduling. Now that was for weight loss surgery, but it happens. So that conversion might not happen for quite some time. But that engagement that was occurring regularly all the time along the way really mattered. Consistency mattered. Visibility mattered. Your future patients are watching even if you don't realize that they're watching what it is that you're doing and all your testimonials and how things are going in your practice. So your 2 key priorities moving forward, really, if you want a steady consult volume, here's your strategy. Your priority number 1 is to bring in new cold leads every week. So consider the fact that you may have paid ads doing this, that you are doing search engine optimization, and now you're also following with a lot of content out there for the new ways that people are finding you in terms of automated AI in searches. Lead magnets you can use, community outreach, physician referrals, and those things will help bring in those cold leads. Priority number 2 is to warm them with intention. So with this, we want to go ahead and set up some regular education, some free reports, some things that will help be value add for them, some reminders to about your practice, and to schedule a consultation if they're interested, proof of your results in the form of testimonials or any sort of reviews that you have, invitations to take the next step. We have to ask them, we have to stay in front of them. And when patients feel supported, not pressured, they say yes more often, and they tend to stay a longer period of time. So if you're ready to take a look at what you're doing cold lead or warm lead wise and all that sort of thing, it's, like I say, never been easier to implement a really a great system. So feel free to reach out to me and go to weightlosspracticebuilder.com. I've got so many free resources there, or just reach out to me, Karol, Karol, at weightlosspracticebuilder.com. I'd love to have an introductory call with you, see what you have going on, and take a look at what it is that you're offering and where we might be able to enhance that. So your future warm leads already exist. Now it's time to bring them in, warm them up, and guide them toward your solution. In the meantime, have a great day.